Well, we went out there in April of 1950 and lived for 2 years. We lived in the mountain camps of the Hook movement and traveled about in the mountains. And there were hundreds and thousands of Filipinos who were involved in this movement at this time. The bulk of them are peasants. Most of them very young, some of them as young, 15 or so, and also some elderly ones who had been in the peasant movement for most of their lives, who joined the movement. And the only American with the movement, by the way. No other American was involved with the movement, especially for ideological reasons. And so I was alone as an American living in the camp of the Filipinos, but I lost entirely my sense of American identity. I mean, as far as I was concerned, I'm just another Hook, you see, the same as Filipinos. And we had very close comradely relations. And I learned a great deal about Philippine life from the people I lived with, about how they grew up in the countryside and the peasant families, and how poor their life was, and how meager their food was from day to day, and how most of them had never gone beyond the grade 4 in schools. By the time they reached that age, they were needed to work in the fields. Their parents needed them, so they didn't have very much education, but they had passionate belief in the movement and absolute loyalty. They were prepared to die for the movement. You know, in the ordinary American political life, this kind of thing I think is unknown, because you don't have that kind of loyalty to a political movement in the United States. You might vote for a candidate, but are you ready to die for the candidate? You see, but in this struggle, these ordinary peasants and ordinary workers from Manila were so deeply devoted to the people who led them that they were prepared to die, and they did die by the hundreds and the thousands in this struggle, without surrendering, with no thought of surrender. They would rather die than surrender to the enemy. And this is the type of dedication I found in the Hook movement. What would bring them to have this kind of dedication? Well, it's for one thing, it's the fact that they have nothing to lose. You see, that their lives have nothing, and they have nothing to lose by fighting in the way that they were. And most of them lived lives of poverty and wanted to end the life of poverty. They wanted to end the type of relationship they had with an abusive landlord. But also a big factor is the abusive attitude of the police and the army. You know, as soon as a suppression campaign begins, not only in this Philippine instance, but in other examples of guerrilla liberation struggles, the type of repressive activity used to put down the revolt is terrible, because it means the mass killing of people to terrorize them into submission. And in many of the villages of central Luzon, whole villages would be razed to the ground, not only once, but time after time, in order to destroy the loyalty of people to the movement. It never destroyed it, but nevertheless, this kind of thing happened. And many of those who came into the movement had fathers, brothers, or cousins killed by the army in this kind of operation. And they would join the movement out of, not revenge, but anger against the authorities who would do this to them, you see. The abusive attitude by the army is a very big factor in provoking people to join the movement.